Good evening, Garland Nixon here, and things ain't looking so good for the Biden administration. Talk about the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Let's talk. Good evening, Garland Nixon here. We're going to talk about the Biden administration. They're having some problems, and the handwriting is on the wall, to use a biblical reference. The writing is on the wall. It looks like the Biden team is toast. It looks like they are coming to the end of their they're going to be dangling from the end of their ropes. And I'm gonna laugh and have a little fun with it, because I mean, if we talk about the reality of what these guys have done, I mean, you put the neocons in charge and go to Ukraine, 500,000 dead guys and over 1 million wounded, and now they're like, hey, we're out of men. You got any women? Mentally incapacitated people, people with their limbs missing. It don't matter. They're like throwing any literal body. I'm next. You know what they're going to do? They're going to dig up the ones that have already been killed and traipse them out to the battlefield to die a second time. These people are a friggin' disaster beyond belief. And I gotta laugh to keep from crying when I think about the damage that they're causing to humankind. But there's good news, if there is such thing in this day and age, and that is, I think they're going to go. They're going to go soon, and I'm going to present my evidence. But let me start by saying this: long ago, I knew that the Biden administration was a disaster. I knew they were crap. Well, first of all, Joe Biden was the guy in charge, but when I saw Blinken, and I don't know why, it's just when I saw this guy in a suit, and I thought to myself, I've been around a lot of lawyers, and not Jewish lawyers, a lot of friends, a lot of people I work with, right? And they wear nice suits. They think they're all in nice suits. Attorneys generally going to wear nice suits. Well-educated people, people in high places, and their suits are going to be fitted well. And when I saw this clown in a wrinkly suit that looked like he just got it out of the dryer, I'm like, that guy don't know what the hell he's doing, and he's going to be a disaster. And before we get into it, if you don't believe me, let's take a picture of Mr. Anthony Blinken. Let's take a look at a picture of Mr. Anthony Blinken. Anthony, right? And before I say this, let me tell you, for those of you who don't know this, just a little historical factor about one Mr. Anthony Blinken. His father was a guy, you can look it up. His stepfather was a name, Samuel Pisar, Pisar. You may never have heard that name, but I'll tell you who it is. Ghislaine Maxwell, the assistant to what I believe is the Mossad agent, most people do, Jeffrey Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell came from a long family of Israeli spies. Her father was a guy named Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell, in fact, had a book written about him called Robert Maxwell, Israeli Super Spy. Okay, when Robert Maxwell died, his body was brought back to Israel. He was given received by the prime minister. He was given a state funeral and buried like where prime ministers are buried. This is Ghislaine Maxwell's father, right? Israeli super spy. He had a lawyer. Robert Maxwell's lawyer was named Samuel Pisar, Pisar. Look it up. It was Anthony Blinken's stepfather. And it appears that Robert Maxwell met, shall we say, an untimely demise, as he was on a boat, and then he wasn't on the boat anymore. And he wasn't swimming either. And he wasn't really doing anything because he was dead. And the last man to see Robert Maxwell, Israeli super spy, alive was Tony Blinken's father, Samuel Pisar. And there are those, me being one of them, who suspect that the elder, not Blinken, peace czar, might have had a hand in the untimely demise of Ghislaine Maxwell's father. But I digress. I don't know why. Sometimes there's something about a person that you see and you're like, that guy's a disaster. You are the Secretary of State and your suit looks like you are a janitor. Let's take a look at this clown. Before we even really get into it, I got a lot to go. I got a lot to talk about. But before we do this, let's actually take a look. You may think, okay, this guy's joking. I mean, come on. How bad could Blinken look in a suit, right? Let's look at this guy. Let's look at this guy. Let's go right here. This is Tony Blinken in a suit. The first thing you'll notice is observe his tie. Look at the guy with the yellow tie. That guy's tie is all the way up tight. Tony Blinken's tie is sagging a bit, and it seems to be tied not all of that well, but it's sagging down a little bit. There's some space. Now, Tony Blinken is a very wealthy man. He's crooked as a rattlesnake and, no doubt filled his filthy, rotten, stinking criminal pockets from the military-industrial complex. But one thing you may notice if you look at his legs, it appears that one leg is literally shorter than the other. Look at this guy. One of his legs is literally shorter than the other. Where the hell do you buy your suits? I mean, okay, you can buy some nice suits off the rack. You can really nice suits. And just while you're there, I mean, did your mother, did your friend or your wife, your one of your kids do the legs on that thing? It's wrinkly. It's a disaster. Look at the guy that he's with. The guy has a little bit, maybe more than he'd like in the middle. Okay. But he's got a nice suit, nice shoes, all looks well. Let me give you an example. A suit. This is how you're supposed to wear a suit. When I used to work at Fox, I wore a suit every now and then. And there we go. How about that? That's me in good old Fox News. You'll notice that. A nice suit. Both legs are the same length. Huh? How about that? The tie is up tight. That's the way you wear a suit. You see what I mean? That was me when I used to be at Fox News. There I was in the office, and there's how you wear a suit. Let's compare me. And I ain't a millionaire. I'm not rich like Tony Blinken. But if we look at Tony Blinken in a suit, what the hell is that? What the hell is that with this guy and his suits? I'm just saying, for God's sake, man, dress to impress. Tony Blinken, dress to impress. And all you got to do is look at Blinken's suit and you know what's happening. All right, let's start here. I'm going to actually start where we need to start. This is, and then let's start where we need to start. And we're going to start with this one in case you hadn't seen it, just in case. Today, 3 p.m., former Obama advisor, Obama's chief of staff, David Axelrod, says Biden should consider dropping out of 2024. Look at this. David Axelrod, who served as senior advisor to former President Barack Obama, suggested that President Joe Biden may want to reconsider his reelection bid as he potentially faces another race for the White House. Axelrod came out as the New York Times and Siena College published new polls that found Trump led Biden in 5 of 6 key battleground states, right? Axelrod, in a post on Twitter, cited the polls and wrote that, quote, "It's very late to change horses. A lot will happen in the next year that no one can predict. And Biden's team says his resolve to run is firm. Only Joe Biden can make this decision. If he continues to run, he will be the nominee. What he needs to decide is whether that is wise, whether it's in, I love this, his best interest or the country's, whether it's in his best interest." One could always almost read that as a threat. You know how those, look, come on. That's Obama's key. Hey, Joe may come over. Barack may ask him to, I don't know, cook him a couple meals and maybe go surfboarding in the old pond. That's a kind of dangerous thing. Every now and then, guys that get on a paddleboard and go out in Obama's pond don't come back. So we're just saying, is it in, and I love it. If you look at the article, it's in capital. Maybe it's in HIS, his best interest and the country's. So it sounds to me like they're saying to Joe Biden, you know, Obama's guy has come here and he said, if you ever saw, what was that movie? Was it The Irishman, where Joe Pesci was the head mafia guy, and they're talking about doing in Jimmy Hoffa, and they come to him and he looks at him and he says, "It's what it is." And they're like, "It's what it is," and he's like, "It's what it is." I think Joe Biden, if you don't take a hint from David Axelrod, somebody's going to go back to Obama and say, "What do you think? Joe Biden won't get out." And Obama's going to quietly look at him and say, "What do you think?" He's going to say, "It's what it is." They're going to say, "Oh, it's what it is." It's what it is. And next thing you know, you'll see Joe Biden on a paddleboard in a pond on Martha's Vineyard at Obama's estate. And then things will come back. The paddleboard will be floating and Joe Biden won't. And let's face it, I mean, you put this guy on a paddleboard or anywhere, that's suicide. You know what I'm saying? He can't stand up in the middle of the freaking Rose Garden. You know, you put this guy on a paddleboard, he's going to get the deep six. So let us continue. Let's see what else we got to say about him, about why this clown should be out of here. Here's another story. Trump leads in 5 critical states as voters blast Biden, right? Blast him. Voters in battleground states said they trusted Donald Trump over President Biden on the economy, foreign policy, and immigration. And Mr. Biden's multiracial base shows signs of fraying. As I've said, you might want to know this, and it probably ain't hard to figure out. I know a lot of Black people. And right now, I didn't know any of them. I don't know any of them that are like, "Let's go, Joe. Way to go, Genocide Joe." Nah, he ain't doing so good. So let's go down. Let's look at the polls. Trump is ahead in 5 of 6 states. He's up by 11 points in Nevada. I think that's outside of the 4 percentage points is generally the what do you call it? Margin of error, right? We go to Georgia. He's up 6. That's outside the margin of error. We go to Arizona. He's up 5 outside the margin of error. We go to Michigan. He's up 5 outside of the margin of error. Pennsylvania, he's up 4. That's right in the margin of error. And of course, Wisconsin, Biden's up 2, right? But before we go any further, let me show you something about Biden being up 2 in Wisconsin, right? We go to CNN. This is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. These Black voters could determine Biden's fate in a pivotal swing state. Well, if that's the case, let's read down and see how these Black, and this is CNN, right? And they go on to say, let's see. Okay. Listen to this. They're talking to Black voters in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where Joe Biden's up 2%. Let's see. Most people, they're talking about the Black voters. Most people don't even want to go vote. Shanice Jones told the room. She said people tell her over and over they're tired of promises made but not kept. Then they talk about on the news how it was less voter turnout. Why? Because you all ain't doing what you said you were going to do. People don't want to answer their doors, he told us. They don't feel like a change is going to happen, right? The mood a year from now will affect the president's reelection more than the present day, but would the president have a Black turnout problem if the election were today? Yes, he would, Johnson told us. He would have a big problem. A couple of hours with the block canvassers backed up that assertion, as did interviews in Milwaukee's inner city and along its urban edge, right? When organizer Des Woods tried to turn a doorway conversation to next year's election calendar, she was interrupted. "I don't want to talk about the election," said the woman inside. They're out the door. "They can't do nothing, so there ain't no use me trying to do," right? Woods is trained to keep trying. "So are you not a voter?" "Yeah, I vote," the woman answered, "but it is when I want to. And right now, I don't want to. And there's a picture of a black dude who's walking around trying to get people to vote, right? Let's see. Uh, 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 all these candidates come by and sell us these promises. She said, you know what, say you got to vote for me to save democracy. And then we don't always see them again. And so folks get more and more turned off from the political process, right? People are wondering, what is he doing in terms of police accountability and police criminal justice reform, right? So when you look at that, well, let's see if you go down. But the bottom line is this. So the bottom line is, when you read this article, what you see is, let me be clear. Black voters had enough of being lied to. They're looking at the Democratic Party and they're saying, Joe Biden, you went in and you made some promises. You know politics. You know what politics is. Hey, we're going to help the school system. We're going to do something. You got to do something that's helping people day to day. I saw an article today. I didn't bring it up right now, where in a bunch of these swing states, there was one particular state, they asked him, who do you trust more on the economy, right? Or no, I'll tell you what it was. It was, do you think the economy's good or bad or whatever? 81% had a negative view of the economy, 19 had a positive. If you are an incumbent and 81% of the people had a negative view of the economy, you don't have a prayer. Not even a prayer. Let us continue. Foreign policy. Well, maybe foreign policy, maybe that'll work, huh? What do you think? Let's look at foreign policy. Blinken leaves the Middle East with no progress on hostages or humanitarian pause. Even the number of aid trucks passing into Gaza falls during the visit of U.S. Secretary of State, right? So he goes to Gaza and he comes out of there. He goes to Turkey. Here's something you might know. Let me find this. This is important that you know this. So he goes there. He gets nothing. Watch this. Turkey, U.S. Air Force base attack. Let me try this. Here we go. Here's a nice little one you might want to see. Yes, sirree. Turkey is a member of NATO and a close ally of pro-Palestinian protesters attempt to storm U.S. air base in Turkey. Turkish police intervened on Sunday after pro-Palestinian protesters attempted to storm an air base housing U.S. Air Force troops in southern Turkey. So, the Biden administration now has literal NATO allies ready to whoop ass and take names. The Turks are infuriated. The Turkish government, I saw some of the video, right? Look at this. Let's look at this. Let me see if we can let's see if we can look at some of this video. This is Turkey. Let's take a peep at what's going on in Turkey. There we go. Pro-Palestinian protesters try to storm U.S. air base in Turkey. Look at these people. They're tearing down the fences. They got masks. They're going up to the U.S. air base. If they could, there's nothing but Palestinian flags everywhere. If they could, look at this. The Turkish police have to squirt water and shoot. They're throwing chairs. They're throwing stuff. Look at this. This is at a Turkish air base. This is a NATO quote ally. They have to keep our quote allies from getting to our soldiers, because I suspect that if those people could get through that fence and get their mitts on some of those U.S. air guys, they would come home in a box. And I'm not saying that joking. Those guys are not happy. If they could get in that air base, let's just say it wouldn't be a pleasant time for the U.S. airmen in that base. Some of them would not come home alive. That is what you get when the neocons are in charge. That's what you get when a clown like Joe Biden. Now, I haven't even got to this. That's going to come back to haunt them. They blew up the damn Nord Stream pipeline. And now now the Turks, they want to beat the hell out of anybody that has even speaks with an American accent. Let's look at the New York Times. How's that? Oh. And you'll notice the picture here. There's an article. This is the New York Times. Joe Biden is in trouble. Gee, what's that interesting little flag? It's white and green and black and red, and these people are hugging. And in the background, what do I see? Even more similar flags. Joe Biden is in trouble, but Joe Biden ain't by himself in trouble. The Democratic Party is toast. Look, let's see. Do we have the numbers? Do we have some of the numbers on that poll? Let's look at some of the numbers and see just how much trouble the Democratic Party is in. Let's look at this. I'm just having a little fun this evening. I'm just on, so I'm not saying this is a special. This is not going to be one of my Plato's allegory of the cave type videos. I'm just kind of hanging out. And check this out. Voters under 30 favor Mr. Biden by 1 percentage point. His lead among Hispanic voters is down to single digits. His advantage in urban areas is half of Mr. Trump's edge in rural regions, right? Black voters, listen to this. Long a bulwark for Democrats and Mr. Biden are now registering 22% support in these states for Mr. Trump, a level unseen in presidential politics for a Republican in modern times. Donald Trump got 8%. Let me try this way. Donald Trump, that's kind of just too weird. Donald Trump got 8% of the black vote in the past. And people were like, man, 8% of the black vote. Whoo, boy, that's something for a Republican. Bush and those guys get 2-3%, right? Trump got 8%. And people were like, oh my God. And that should have been the canary in the coal mine. That should have said, black folks have had enough. They're looking at the Democratic Party saying, we're tired. You put up rainbow flags and Black Lives Matter masks, and you promise us stuff, and you never do anything for anybody. And we ain't going to keep buying into this. So Trump has 22% of the black votes. Let me tell you something. If Donald Trump gets 22% of the black vote, the Democratic Party, you will have to go to a museum to find a Democrat, because you'll have to go find a museum to find a picture of them, because there won't be one in office. Add it all together. Okay, so we go on. Listen to this. In a remarkable sign of a gradual racial realignment between the two parties, it ain't a racial realignment. Black folks are just like, you people are crazy. You Democrats are crazy. Let me tell you something they don't realize. They don't want to realize. A lot of black folks, especially middle-aged and older black folks, really ain't into the woke stuff at all, right? A lot of middle-aged and older black folks go to church a lot. They tend to be socially kind of conservative, slow to move along, and they ain't down with all the woke stuff. They already had one foot out the door. And now the economy's gone to hell. The foreign policy is insanity. And trust me, most black folks tend to identify with the Palestinians, not the Zionists. Okay, so 22% is unthinkable in the United States for a president to get in the black vote, and that's what Trump is looking to get. And then here's the problem. And the rest of them, they ain't going to show up for Biden at all. They will not be there. The ones, some will vote for Trump. The rest of them ain't going to show there. So let's continue. The world is falling apart under Biden, said Spencer Weiss, a 53-year-old electrical substation specialist in Bloomberg, Pennsylvania, right? So here you have a guy who is a working class guy, substation specialist. He's outside in the cold. In Pennsylvania, you know it's cold. He's making a living outside when it's cold, when it's hot. He's got wrenches in his hand. He's, you know what I mean? This guy's a working man. He's probably got a hard hat or something on, right? And he says the world's falling apart under Biden. He supported Biden in 2020, but is now back in Trump, albeit with some reservations. I would much rather see somebody that I feel can be a positive role model leader for the country, but at least I think Trump has his wits about it. So he's saying, look, and Trump's no king. I'm not trying to say this guy's the Pope by any stretch of the imagination, but Biden's he didn't even know where the hell he is, and they're looking at him and they're like, yeah. So we go on. 62% said Biden does not have the mental sharpness to be effective, right? I actually had high hopes for Biden, said Jamari Henry, a 25-year-old who packages liquor in Albany, Georgia. You can't be worse than Trump. But then as the years go by, things happen with inflation, the war going on in Ukraine, recent Israel, and I guess our borders are not secure at all. Now Mr. Henry plans to back Trump. I don't see anything that he's done to benefit us, said Patricia Flores, 39, of Reno, Nevada, who voted for Biden in 2020, but won't support him again in 2024. Right? So we look at it. We go on. Let's see. So the bottom line, you get it. You see what I'm getting at. You see what I'm getting at. Joe Biden, the Biden administration, has been one of the worst presidential administrations, if not the worst presidential. Most of us, when we saw George W. Bush, we thought you couldn't get worse than that. When George W. Bush left, remember, it was 2008. You remember what the economy looked like in 2008? We were in Iraq. Disaster. We were in Afghanistan. Disaster. The country was an absolute nightmare under George Bush. And everybody thought, well, one thing for sure, he set a standard for being a really bad president that nobody could possibly meet. And now you have, I can't even say what kind of a disaster this guy has. Let's start with Ukraine. Let's just start with Ukraine very briefly. I'll just run through them briefly. The Biden administration started this war and lied to people for the last 3 years and said the Russians are going to lose. And, Vladimir Putin, and how about this? Vladimir Putin wants to win in Ukraine, and then he's going to move on, and he's not going to stop till he gets to the English Channel and blah, 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 blah. They're fighting with shovels and wash machines. You know all of that, right? The Russians can't possibly win. They're Russians. They're genetically, intellectually, and culturally inferior. They're sure to lose to the Ukrainians. And a lot of people said, hey, I got a question about the Ukrainians. What? Why's that guy got a swastika tattoo and he's mumbling something about Sieg Heil and he's goose stepping all over the place? And Biden was like, that's just Russian propaganda. And we're like, but every time we see a picture of one of these guys, he's wearing the iconography of the Third Reich. Help us out here, Joe. And Biden was like, shut up. That's Russian propaganda. And if you say that one more time, we're going to have you thrown off Twitter. Get out of here with that. And people were like, well, that ain't very nice, but okay. Well, it is what it is, right? So as things went on, at some point, things started to fall apart and the Russians got more and more confident. And now it's fairly obvious. The Biden administration said the Russians can't possibly win because if they win, that's it for democracy. That's in for the world. They'll eat us all. Everything will fall apart. We cannot ever, no matter what, let the Russians win. We got to stop them, and they're not that good. They'll probably lose anyway. And after the beginning of October, when we had that little minor incident in Israel, all of a sudden the Biden administration went, oh, Ukraine, who, what? We're done with that. As I said, not to take credit for it, because I'm not Nostradamus, but let's face it, this one wasn't hard to predict. And at some point, just like Afghanistan and everywhere else, the neocons just go, yeah, we're bored with that toy. We need a new toy. We need a new war toy. And now, what are we hearing? Hey, people are saying that the Ukrainian government's a mess and they need to talk to the Ruskies or something and set up a deal. So the Biden administration, they're like, yeah, we're running out. We're running out of wonder weapons for you. We got a couple of old F-16s that were made in 1974. Here, take those. That ought to turn things around. There you go, the latest wonder weapon. Other than that, we really don't have much for you. We were going to send you some stuff, but this is kind of an old boring war. We're just going to send it to the new war. And the Ukrainians are like, well, they're screaming Sieg Heil, but after that, they're like, what the hell? And I'm sitting here looking at them like, you dumbasses, you dumb sons of a. We told you, Nazi and all. We're like, really? And you're really going to trust the neocons? You really think that the neocons are going to drag you into a war and they're going to stand by you to the end? Yeah, good luck with that. And now the Sieg Heil and goose steppers in Kiev are finding out what the South Vietnamese found out. They're finding out what the Afghan, everywhere found out is the neocons come in, they F everything up, and then they leave and they go somewhere and they F everything up somewhere else. That's just what they do. And now at some point, the Sieg Heilers are going to get abandoned. And you know what's interesting about that too? All those blue and yellow flag waving idiots in Europe that like painted their trains, their trash cans. They had a blue and yellow flag hanging out of every window. And now they're like, hey, why is all our industry disappearing? And how come it's so expensive to live? And oh, well, at least Joe Biden told us we had to stand with Ukraine because otherwise Putin would win. And Putin could never, hey, what? Wait, but the Biden administration said we got to make a deal with Putin and walk away. And he's going to get all of Ukraine. I think we've been had. And somebody turn up the heat. We can't. Why? Because Joe Biden blew up the incoming gas pipeline. So we're just really kind of screwed. But the good news is the Americans will be happy to sell you all the gas you need at 7 times the price that they're charging everybody else. My God, did they screw the Europeans? My God, did these neocons screw the Europeans? I mean, you're wrecked. Europe ain't coming back. No, Europe is going to have to crawl back to Russia on its hands and knees and beg them, please sell us gas. Please come back and sell us gas at the price you sold it before. And if I was the Russians, I'd be like, well, we'll sell you gas, but you ain't getting the price you had before. Those days are gone, brother. Oh, remember this? We can't have any Russians sing at the opera. Ooh, Dostoevsky. Who ever heard of that guy? Get rid of him. Oh, look, a Russian monument to when the Russians saved our stupid asses during World War II. How about, what are you going to do with that monument? Yeah, we're going to tear it down and just spray "We hate Putin" all over it in red paint, huh? How's that? And now you're going to end up going back to the Russians and begging for gas at a decent price. And the Russians ain't giving to you at a decent price. And you know what they're going to say? First and foremost, you blew up our damn pipeline. We want all of our money for our pipeline, and you're going to pay to repair it, and you're going to repair it, and you're going to give us money that we lost when you blew it up and you repaired it. And you know what Europe's going to do? It's going to do all of it because it has no choice. It's going to give the Russians whatever they ask. And if I was Vladimir Putin, I'd say, oh, what other thing? What? You have to kiss my ass in public, and I'm going to give you 3 hours to draw a crowd. That too. And shine my shoes. And we already know, hey, Schultz is shining Joe Biden's shoes, so he's already a shoe shine boy. It's just a matter of whose shoes Schultz is shining. He's always used to shining somebody's shoes. What a pathetic excuse for a human being. So you already got your shoe shine boy, Vladimir Putin. His last name is Schultz. Make him shine your shoes before you give him 1 cubic meter of gas. Spit shine him. Look at him and say, ain't shiny enough. Put it back down. Give him the old, it has to take the old shoe shine towel and go back and forth like that, right? Sit up in a chair, a high chair, and have him down at your feet, shining your shoes. Say, the only way we're selling you gas is if you shine my shoes on international. I put it on RT and Sputnik both. Shoe shine boy Schultz. That's what needs to happen, because then maybe he'll learn his dumbass lesson. Let me continue. So what we got is the neocons about to leave Ukraine to get what they were ultimately going to get. Whoever's left in Ukraine. I mean, let's face it, all the men are dead, and now they're sending the women out to die. So the Russians are just kind of laying back. They're in no rush. It is what it is. This thing's over. This thing's done. And now, let me tell you this. You probably heard me talk about it. I went to a protest rally, whatever you want to call it, in DC. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I don't know if you saw the pictures. It was unbelievable. There was they say 300,000. I don't know what the number is. Could have been 500,000. I don't know what it is. Never seen anything like it in my life. People everywhere. And you know what? Here's the interesting thing about it. It wasn't morose. It wasn't dark. It was festive. It was festive. It was a celebration. There were people waving flags all over. They were jumping up and down. They were climbing up on things. There were people with those little megaphones screaming, "Free, free Palestine, free, free Palestine, free, free." And then the whole crowd would chant "Free Palestine." The crowds in that area. This thing went on for like a mile, and they're chanting "Free Palestine." They're chanting "Genocide Joe." They're chanting "We'll remember in November." They're chanting everything. Oh, everywhere, people everywhere. Oh, black, white, green, gray, and grizzly. And I think every Muslim in the world, or in the United States, must have been there. Joe Biden's in a world of hurt. Young black people, they're everywhere, with their Free Palestine shirts on. Unbelievable what I saw. Literally, there were people there who were congressional staffers holding up signs. "Congress, your staff wants a ceasefire," right? Demands a ceasefire. Congressional staffers were there. I don't think things are going so good for the Democrats right now. The young people are furious. Young people are looking at this saying, they're looking at these pictures, they're saying, for God's sake, it looks to me like you put a bunch of people in an open air prison and you are just genociding them. You're just killing them all, and you're making excuses, and you're giving us crap about, yes, Israel has a right to defend itself. I'm not saying the old people, some of them might believe it. Young people ain't happy, and they ain't showing up. So let's see. Let's look here. Young people ain't showing up for the Democrats. No, that would be an easy way to put it. They despise the Democratic Party with the fury of 1,000 suns. The heat and fury of 1,000 suns. They despise the Democratic Party. They're screaming. They're in a fury and rage saying, "You guys are committing genocide and you should be held accountable." That's what young people are saying in America. I see it everywhere. Not saying that there ain't some young people, I don't know, somewhere, I guess, that are saying, "Hey, keep up the good work, Israel." But it ain't much. It ain't much. So the young people, done. I think, if I'm not mistaken, something like 70% of the people under 30 voted for Biden in the past. He's in single digits now. What is it, 2% or something lead? For people under 30, Biden needs about a 70 to 80% lead for people under 30 to win. He's got single digits lead. He's done. He's done. And not just Biden. We see now that there was another article today about in the State Department, the Blinken State Department, some letter. I'll find that for you. Letter Israel State Department. We will do this together, dear and fluffy friends. Let's take a look at this. Even more evidence. U.S. diplomats slam Israel policy in leaked memo. The document offers a window into, listen to this word, internal fury at the State Department over President Joe Biden's Middle East policies. Fury. It doesn't say anger. It says fury. State Department staffers offered a blistering critique of the Biden administration's handling of the Israel-Hamas war in a dissent memo obtained by Politico, arguing that, among other things, the U.S. should be willing to publicly criticize Israelis. The message suggests a growing loss of confidence among U.S. diplomats in President Joe Biden's approach to the Middle East, right? If internal disagreements intensifies, it could make it harder for the Biden administration to craft a policy towards the region, right? We must publicly criticize Israel's violations of international norms, such as failure to limit offensive operations to legitimate military targets, the memo states. When Israel supports settler violence and illegal land seizures or employs excessive use of force against Palestinians, we must communicate publicly that this goes against our American values so that Israel does not act with impunity. The memo is marked sensitive but unclassified. It's not clear how many people signed it or if and when it was submitted to the department's dissent channel, right? So now, I don't know if you know about the State Department, but that's where the neocons reside. So literally, he's lost half the neocons. How bad do you have to be for the neocons? You know what it's like? I'll tell you what that's like. It's like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was literally thrown out of ISIS. I mean, ISIS was literally thrown out of Al-Qaeda because Al-Qaeda's like, yes, sirree, let's go out there and kill the non-believers. Man, we'll do that, blah, blah, blah. And then ISIS came along. Yeah, we'll cut their heads off. We'll rape them, use them for sex slaves, use their... And Al-Qaeda's like, whoa, now we want to kill the unbelievers, but you guys are taking this thing a little far. Get out of here. You're extremists. ISIS was thrown out of Al-Qaeda for being extremists. That's what's going on at the State Department. You literally have neocons saying, hey, we like to go out here, start wars, kill people, blow things up, all that. But wait a minute, Joe Biden. I mean, you're just like got a bunch of people in an open air prison and you're bombing the living crap out of them and slaughtering and incinerating children. Even us neocons, we got a line that's a little too far to cross, right? Even we got something you might call a deal breaker, shall we say. You've crossed the deal breaker of the neocons at the State Department. Probably, I guess the only thing you got left at the State Department is like Blinken and Newland. Blinken and Newland come in there like, yes, we're killing children. And the rest of them are like, yeah, like killing children, huh? Perhaps maybe we could do things a little bit differently. He's losing the neocons. How bad do you have to be when the neocons in the State Department are abandoning you? So let's see. Black voters hate your guts. Young voters can't stand you. Half the neocons in the State Department, they're getting the hell out of here. Congressional staffers, they're at the protest holding up signs that says, hey, we hate your foreign policy, you scumbag. You need to look out for the Palestinians. And might I add, I must have seen 10,000 flags there. The Palestinian cause is now the cause of a lot of people in America. There were some people, let's see, watch this. I'm going to keep giving you stuff for a while because I got nothing to do. Lockheed Martin. Here's something else you might not know. They're not showing. They're probably going to. Oh, Boeing. My bad. 5 hours ago. Let's take a look at this. I said Lockheed Martin. This is what's going down. Palestinian solidarity activists blocked Boeing's doors to stop delivery of bombs. Until Congress blocks the bombs, we will, said the coalition of activists at the manufacturing plant in Missouri. What do you get they got on? They got the names of the dead people. This is at Boeing's plant in Missouri. Things are coming unglued here in the United States. For those who aren't here, things are coming unglued. You can't just go out committing genocides and have people that people can see, right? Look at this. There we go. They got on there, whatever you call that, kefir. I don't know what the hell it's called, but they got their faces covered. Some of them, God bless them, even got on their little old masks, right? This morning, youth activists blocked all entrance to Boeing Building 598, a major weapons manufacturer company located in St. Charles, Missouri, bringing together members from at least 5 different local and national grassroots groups. The action aimed to disrupt Boeing's delivery of more than 1,000 bombs to Israel. Young people have decided not to wait on Biden in Congress, many members of whom receive financial support from weapons companies, including Boeing, and take calls for ceasefires into their own hands by physically blocking the movement and shipment of bombs in a peaceful and nonviolent action outside Boeing's manufacturing plant, the coalition announced in a published statement. Uh, They demand that Congress and Biden issue an immediate ceasefire and end arms sales to Israel. Until Congress blocks the bombs, we will. Rose Tang, an organizer with Boeing Arms Genocide, who took part in the Boeing blockade, told Truth Out. Right? Uh, Listen to this. The coalition engaged in the direct action at Boeing is composed of members from the National Anti-War Youth Group Dissenters, as well as their Chicago-based campaign group, Boeing Arms Genocide, the St. Louis Palestine Solidarity Committee, the local St. Louis hub of the community building group Black Men Build, and St. Louis Black again, St. Louis Grassroots Coalition Group Resist St. Louis, right? So, what do we got? The situation's going bad for Biden. Now you see why David Axelrod is like, hey guys, look, perhaps Joe Biden needs to look in a different direction. Maybe ice cream in a nice rest home somewhere in the afternoon sun is in his future. But sitting in the White House sure as hell ain't. I don't know if you're reading this or if you're paying attention. I could go on with article after article. Joe Biden has no chance whatsoever. He's done. And I wish I could find this Washington Post article. I'll look for it. The picture is what you have to see. The picture is what you have to see. Could this be it? I think they've changed the picture. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Watch this. Tell me what you learned from this. Is Biden going to be around for long? Look at this. The Washington Post, which is a CIA trade rag, an ominous poll for Democrats and what it says about a Biden alternative. Gee, would you look at that? Isn't it interesting that the Washington Post would have a picture of Joe Biden with a dumbass look on his face? And what do you know? Gavin, the cool hair guy, Newsom, looking down on him. And there's a big old gigantic Gavin Newsom and a little teeny contemplative Joe Biden. And you go on, President Biden and Democrats were greeted this weekend with perhaps their most ominous poll of the 2024 election cycle, right? And there you go. So they go on. Former Barack Obama strategist, and now this is the front page of the Washington Post. Former Barack Obama strategist David Axelrod floated that possibility. So it says, simple enough, it would seem Democrats are leaving plenty of potential voters on the table and possible victory with Biden, and some are spotlighting this as a reason to nominate someone else. Former Barack Obama strategist David Axelrod floated that possibility, and Bill Kristol explicitly endorsed it while citing the generic ballot. Representative Dean Phillips of Minnesota, who has launched a primary bid against Biden also cited that poll, saying, I could offer no statement more powerful than the one made by suffering Americans in today's New York Times poll. So they go on and they try to make some excuses, right? But you get the picture, don't you? A picture says 1,000 words. The Washington Post has a picture of says Biden's, in a world of trouble, and they got a picture of some people hugging and a whole bunch of Palestinian flags. That's the New York Times. The Washington Post has a picture of Biden with a gigantic Gavin Newsom staring over his shoulder. And they're like, yeah, the polls ain't looking good for you, dude. So, old wrinkly suit. And here's the thing I'm thinking. I really believe this. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. I think they want Biden the hell out. And I don't think that the exit of Joe Biden will be by himself. I think Biden, and if somebody else comes in, Gavin Newsom, Blinken, Sullivan, Newland, I think that we already know. Well, I've read Seymour Hersh's stuff, and we already know that the CIA despises Biden, Blinken, Newland, Sullivan, right? We now know that even the neocons at the State Department have had enough of those clowns. So it looks to me like a move is afoot. And that move is Biden goes, but there's no way Biden is going to go and they're going to leave Blinken and Sullivan and Newland. Where Biden when he goes out the door, he's going to have a crowd with him, and it's going to be those crazy neocons. And I think what they're going to try to do, maybe I'm wrong, I'm just guessing here. A lot of people would agree. I think what they probably are going to try to do is bring Gavin Newsom in and somebody who's like maybe a neocon somewhat, but not one of the crazies. And I think somebody's going to come in. Think about this, right? Why in the hell has Gavin Newsom, watch this, Newsom, eat, G, watch this. Look at this. Tell me something, dear and fluffy friends. What does this say to you? Gavin Newsom meets with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two leaders spoke in Beijing on Wednesday ahead of a potential meeting between Xi and President Joe Biden next month. The California governor, the governor of California, is meeting with the president of China. Not that that's all that weird. Governors of California have met with the president of China before. I'm just saying. And he's saying to Xi Jinping, hey, dude, why don't you come hang out in San Francisco? They're having some kind of a big meeting, forum, whatever in San Francisco. So Gavin Newsom, former mayor of San Francisco. And what is around San Francisco? Oh, that's right, Silicon Valley. And might I add this, who has been getting their ass kicked by the Biden team's neocon sanctions on chips and all of that stuff? I read I think Silicon Valley lost like $11 billion alone from the chip, the changes in chip laws in an attempt to hurt the Chinese. They ain't happy. They're losing money. They send their boy Gavin Newsom, and he goes over and talks to Xi Jinping. There's something afoot. And now they're like, yeah, maybe Biden should, maybe a problem. Might be time for Biden to take a hike. Oh, look, here's a picture of Gavin Newsom. Just throw that out there. Perhaps we can put a picture of Gavin Newsom bearing down on Biden after he's met with Xi Jinping and invited him to meet with Biden. See, apparently, if you read the stories, one of the things that's going on is, apparently, Newsom has been in China, interestingly enough, and strangely, meeting with Xi Jinping and inviting him to come to San Francisco later in the month for a meeting with the president. Well, perhaps when he said a meeting with the president, maybe he wasn't talking about Joe Biden. Maybe he was like, yes, I want you to meet with me. I mean, the president at the end of the month. We'll hang out. Xi Jinping was probably like, yeah, well, I don't get along with Joe Biden. And Gavin Newsom was probably like, yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that. Yeah, well, we'll work on that later. I'm just saying, come to San Francisco at the end of the month. We'll smooth this thing out, dude. We will smooth it right out. They're going to come in. I think the Obama people, David Axelrod was Obama's chief of staff. I think Axelrod is like, he's not recommending to Biden that he step down. Next thing you're going to see, things go bad. The Republicans or whoever, let's face it. Sadly, there are some people who think that the Republicans are somehow, the leadership of the Republicans are in opposition to Biden. Yeah, good luck with that one. They're going to play with the team. They're going to come to him. They're going to say, look, we want you to get this investigation cranked up with Biden, and we're going to go threaten him. And then they're going to go to Biden. Biden, you got a couple options. Number one, in the words of Joe Pesci, it's what it is. Now, we don't want that to happen. You're a little old. I'm just saying, you could fall asleep and find a pillow over your freaking head and wake up in the morning in Valhalla. That's one option. Another option is we could charge your ass and throw you in jail. That's another option. Another option is you could eat ice cream at the old folks' home and we'll wheel you out in a chair every afternoon and you can soak up the sun. How's that sound, Joe Biden? Doesn't that sound better than going to the Huskow for all of that money you took in Ukraine, amongst other things, and all over the place? Doesn't it? Doesn't it sound better than having a pillow head held over your filthy genocidal head until you stop struggling? You know, I mean, come on. We got to have five CIA agents. One's got to hold down one arm. The other's got to hold the other arm. The other's got to hold the leg. Somebody's got to hold the leg. And then there's the pillow guy. No, I don't mean the pillow guy that you're thinking of. I don't mean the guy that sells pillows. I mean the pillow guy. The guy that comes in with both hands on either side of the pillow, puts it over your filthy, stinking little head, and mushes it down until you stop kicking. That guy. You never want to meet the pillow guy, Joe Biden. Trust me, you don't want to meet the pillow guy. But they're going to give you some suggestions, and one of those suggestions is going to involve the pillow guy. I'm guaranteeing you that. They might not explicitly mention the pillow guy. They may just point to the back of the room, and there'll be a guy standing there holding up a pillow, my pillow, holding up a pillow, pointing to it. Joe Biden knows who the pillow guy is. He's been around long enough. So at some point they may say, Joe. They don't have to say anything. He's been around DC. Joe, yeah. One of your options is like that. And he'll look over and the old pillow guy will. And Joe Biden will go. He'll hang his head because he don't want to meet the pillow guy. And he knows his only real option is ice cream in the sun every afternoon. It looks to me like Joe Biden is on the way to a sunny afternoon with ice cream, which is a nice thing for Joe Biden. I mean, that's a good way to go out. You're a genocidal maniac. You really, Joe Biden should be at The Hague, don't you think? He should be tried. He should be found guilty. And whatever they do to him, I know it's Europe, so they don't hang people, sadly. But they could do something with him. Maybe they got a dungeon they could put him in. Maybe they could give him Jeffrey Epstein's cell. Because let me tell you something. There's probably another option, and that is when Ukraine falls, there's going to be a lot of top people there who have a lot of information on Joe Biden. So there's just they have their ways. They have their ways of getting a point across. But when they come to Joe Biden, there are people that don't think he'll go. I don't think they're going to give him an option. His party is crashed. You know what it is now? I'll tell you what I think. They're looking at November, and they understand, and they're hearing it. The congressional staffers are saying to Congress, hey, Congress member, I work for you, but I hate your guts. You're a genocidal maniac. And Joe Biden don't even say his name to me. I hate his guts. They're looking at the polls, and the polls say the same thing. Joe Biden sucks. They're calling Europe, how's things going? And the Europeans are going, it's almost winter and we're kind of running short of gas. Let's just hope it ain't a cold winter, or they're probably going to hang us and, the guillotines are going to come out. As they say around the budget, if things continue the way they're going, some cuts may be necessary. They ain't talking about budget cuts. They're talking about dropping the old blade on the guillotine. Whoop. So the Europeans got to be looking at him saying, dude, you're going to get our heads cut off unless you kind of find a way out of this Ukraine mess. Meanwhile, the Middle East, the Muslim world is ready to cut every head off that looks American. Our bases are getting attacked daily. Our bases are getting daily bombed. I tell you, let me give you a site to look at in case people always ask me, where do I go for information? Here's a good site that I go to every day that seems to give a lot of info. They have a ticker. Hold on a minute. Come on, you're moving slow here. It's moving slow. I want to show it to you, but it's just moving slow. Darn it. Doesn't want to come up now. It's Al Mayadeen English. This check is taking longer than possible. Darn it all. For some reason, I'll let you know if it comes up. It's Al Mayadeen, which is spelled Almayaden. It's trying. Connection is. Oh, there we go. All right. Here we go. This is a good site. If you want to find out what's going on in the Middle East, I'm a big believer in checking all over the world. There we go. Al Mayadeen. right? And you'll see top Israeli spy bodies. U.S. military injuries doubled in recent resistance operations. There we go. Iraqi resistance attacks U.S. military bases, unveils Al-Aqsa 1 missile. Sana'a attacks sensitive Israeli targets using UAVs, right? State Department officials criticize Biden's Middle East policy. U.S. Arab allies scared Gaza genocide destabilized their countries. Biden administration plans 320 million transfer of precision bombs for Israel. Okay, so that's a good site, right? But look at that site. Does that sound like Joe Biden still has any friends left in the Middle East? They hate him. No, excuse me. Let's go one further. They're at war. Let me show you something that you might not know. This is a good one. There we go. Here's one you might not have heard. More info for you to get the picture. Now let's talk about Africa for a second. Algerian parliament unanimously votes to militarily support Palestine. The Algerian parliament unanimously voted to authorize President Abdulhamid Tebboune to enter the Gaza war and militarily support Palestine. The 100 out of 100 vote came on November 2nd, a day after the anniversary of Algeria's war of liberation against French colonialism, right? The Algerian parliament officially authorized Abdelmajid Tebboune, the president of this country, to go to war with Israel by a 100% vote. The voting session of parliament was accompanied by long slogans in support of Palestinian people and resistance groups. We launched a large number of them. They talk about what's happening with the Yemeni forces. So Algeria is an African nation. The Africans ain't happy. Most of the African nations support the Palestinians, and they don't like the Americans that much. They do love the Russians. They're pretty good with the Chinese. They like the Chinese. Can't stand the Americans. And now, as I have said, if you think about it, and Algeria is not a poor country. Algeria provides a lot of gas to Europe. They're rich in gas. They're rich in natural resources. Algeria, they're very, very close to the Russians. Very close to the Russians, especially militarily. And one of the reasons is because the Soviet Union helped arm Algeria when they were fighting against French colonialism and they became free. And let's face it, at one point, the French slaughtered 45,000 Algerians. The history is the Algerians ain't all that thrilled with the French, okay? So, but the bottom line is this. Basically, as I said, the United States really actually only uses Israel as a military outpost. That's all it really is. It's not really a country. It's a military base, a military outpost. So technically, in a way, Algeria just kind of declared war on the U.S., on one of our outposts. They're like, okay, Algeria is a powerful country, which means what? I'm not saying that Algeria is going to fly fighter planes and tanks. No, they're ways away. But you know what's going to happen, don't you? They're going to provide money. They're going to provide weapons. They're going to provide intelligence. They're going to provide anything they sneak in for the Palestinians. And this is a rich country. They can sneak stuff in. So they're going to try maybe missiles, maybe, they're close with the Russians. So they got a lot of Russian missiles and a lot of Russian hardware. And I don't know if you've been paying close attention in Ukraine, but that stuff works pretty damn good. And you don't want, if they're getting their hands on a bunch of these Russian anti-tank missiles, I'm telling you right now, Israeli tanks are in a world of deep and serious trouble. So bottom line is this. You got Yemen basically declaring war on Israel. Now Algeria has basically declared a war on Israel. People are saying, do you think this will be a regional war? Do you think the war is spread? The war has already spread. It has spread. Bases are being attacked. The U.S. is going to get run the hell out of the Middle East. The Biden administration is a disaster beyond anything you could ever think. And right now, I think the Obama people are saying, look, this guy's a clown beyond belief. Here's what we got to do. We got to get some people in there. We got to get this wrinkly suit wearing ignorant bastard, Tony Blinken. He's got to go. And let me tell you something. The day Blinken walks out of the State Department, there will be a round of cheers. People will be putting drinks in the air. Yay! They'll be singing "Ding Dong, the witch is gone." The neocons hate it. He's not even a decent neocon. He's hated by his own. So it looks to me. All I'm saying is, it looks to me like the move is being made. What I tried to do is share various news sources with you to substantiate my belief that the Biden team, I will be surprised if Joe Biden is around much longer. He may, for all I know, the Democratic Party may decide we've been a party for a long time and we don't really need any seats in Congress or the Senate. Certainly don't want the White House. We're going to stick these two idiots. Look, let me add this. They certainly can't take him out and leave Kamala Harris in power. Both of them have got to go. She doesn't have a clue what she's doing. He's pooping himself every day, and she's just got a stupid giggle on her face. They got to eat this mess. They got to say, man, we screwed up. But Obama's got to eat it. Obama's got to say, you know what? I'm the one who pulled the levers to get Joe Biden elected. And we're the ones who looked at Kamala Harris and said, yeah, she's kind of cute. We'll make her vice president. Man, we just got to eat this one. That didn't work out like we thought it would. And they pretty much destroyed any and everything. The entire world hates us. The UN is against us. The Africans despise us. The Muslim world wants to cut our freaking heads off. And most of the young people here would join them in cutting our heads off if the opportunity were there. And black folks have abandoned the Democratic Party. And not a moment too soon, I might add. All right, let's look. Please, for God's sake. I hate these people. But before we go, we got to do one thing. We got to look one more time before we go. I can't help it. Look at this guy. Look at the suit on this guy. Look at that. Look at the suit on this guy. Literally, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a optical illusion. But I've seen this look before. It appears that one leg is longer than the other, and his suits are wrinkly. Look at the arm. Look at the bottom of the suit. Look at the other guy's suit. I'm just saying. And look at his suit. Why are his suits always wrinkly and ill-fitting? God, what a clown. And like I said, I'm just a schmuck. I'm just a schmuck. Okay, just a schmuck. And I will go back to the days when I wore a suit daily because I was going up to... There you go. That's how a man is supposed to wear a suit. I'm not saying I'm anything above. I'm just a regular old schmuck. That's the next thing. I'm just a regular old guy. You notice it ain't wrinkly? You notice my tie is the right length and it's tied nicely. I watched a YouTube video to learn how to tie a tie. Watch a YouTube video, right? Got a nice white shirt, a red, and he has some little white dots in the tie. It picks up the white. See what I mean there? A brown pair of loafers there that, kind of has a little bit of red to pick up the tie, right? That's how you dress if you're a professional. Not like this. That ain't how you look. You're the Secretary of State. You're embarrassing us. You embarrass me. The guy is an embarrassment. The only thing I can say is, luckily for us, I think his days are numbered. All right, let's see if we have anyone who has a super chat and will answer the super chats. I just hate that guy, and I can't stand the way he wears a suit. Thanks a lot, Ian Moon. He should just start wearing a jogging outfit. That would be better because they're supposed to be wrinkled. In fact, when he wears a suit, it looks like he has on a jogging outfit. Let's go here. Jangle jingle. Will multipolarity finally end the white man's burden mindset prevalent in the Western leadership and to some effect Western society in general? Look, it's not really the white man's burden thing. That's all stuff they say. It's a ruling class that criminals, they're thieves. And so they just come up with an excuse to steal people's stuff. Let's go. Let's see what else we got. How about this? So yeah, multipolarity is here, and it's over for these idiots. Sparkster, what's happening, brother? Sparky says, considering many children killed in Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel, maybe Alex Jones' Sandy Hook comments won't seem so bad to Elon, and he will let Alex on X. Elon banned Alex from Twitter, not X. Here's the thing about it. I'm banned, right? Here's the thing about it. I'm banned I'm thrown off Twitter. Alex Jones is, of course, yeah, Garland. Why wouldn't you throw him off Twitter? What a threatening guy, right? Here's the thing. Alex Jones, whatever. You might not like what he said about Sandy Hook. I might not like what he said about Sandy Hook, but I do believe in free speech, and I believe that the cure for bad speech is good speech. And while I don't like what the whole Sandy Hook thing, all I have to say is this: I believe in free speech, and I may not like what people have to say, but that doesn't mean I want it banned, right? But Alex Jones is banned for saying the wrong thing about kids being killed. Okay, you're upset about that. This wrinkly suit son of a, this wrinkly suit son Mitch. How about we do that? That's one of my dad, he was a longshoreman. Them son Mitches, right? He would say stuff like that. He's a longshoreman, it was cool. But this wrinkly suit turd is literally killing children. So if you talk about children being killed in a way that's untoward, you get thrown off Twitter. If you literally kill children by the thousands, you can stay on Twitter. There seems to me something wrong with that picture. That's all I'm saying. I think there's something wrong with the picture. You can't talk about kids being killed in a way that would be upsetting, but if you actually kill them, you're good. Sparky, once again, the Sparkster says the world won't soon forgive them. Israel's taken such a worldwide PR hit that they'll be lucky if in 75 years an IDF veteran gets a standing ovation from the Canadian Parliament. You're right. You're right. You're right, brother. Man, the word Israel and the United States is despised worldwide. If the United States don't fire Biden, and when they fire him, let me tell you, it ain't going to be good enough. Him and Blinken and those people, the world will be calling for them to be tried as war criminals. What they're doing is clearly a violation of international law. What they're doing is clearly war crimes and crimes against humanities, and they should have to pay the price. And I think the powers that be are going to try to get them out of power, hoping that they can stop from ending them up in The Hague. But that's where they should be. It's inexcusable. We got to start protesting for these people to go to The Hague. Jewel in the Machine, thank you, says, got here late, but just wanted to ask if you saw Richard Medhurst's video about the Ben Gurion Canal, the one they want to build from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. Well, look, that's all they want to do. Look, let me add this, is make money. Gaza's sitting on an oil field. A gas field. Did you know that? Gaza's sitting on a gas field. Those men, women, and children got to die. You know why they got to die? Because there's gas under there, and the Israelis want to steal every dime of it. And you think Biden ain't in on that? Let's keep going. These people are lowlifes to a level that this world rarely sees. Next, let's go. Thank you for your balanced, entertaining, and informative work. Why, thank you, SE. I certainly appreciate that. How about we got another one? Cool Blue 71. If Gavin Newsom gets brought in, Kamala Harris would exit. You best believe she's done. 12th Amendment does not allow U.S. president and vice president to be from the same state. What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? I don't know for sure. I have to look at that. I think you're right on that. Let us keep going. We'll see. What they'll do is they'll do Whitmer. Whitmer's from Michigan, and they know they're in trouble in Michigan, and they'll hope to get Michigan. What they'd like to do is get him out, bring Whitmer in, bring a new crew in, and then try to say to the Muslims and the young black people, hey, excuse me, sorry about that whole Biden fiasco. Hope we weren't out of line, and maybe we'll try to work things out. What can we do for you? Nothing. Too late. They're done. Genocide. I don't ride with genocide. How about that? That's what you're going to be hearing. We don't ride with genocide. All right. Esoteric Teaching says, Sparky for president. Here, Sparky. Sparky is the man. Alexis Anderson, my sister's name's Alexis. Have the Duran on sometime, Garland. Both of them are fans and mention you often. Love your streams and discussion. Thanks a bunch, Garland. Oh man, let me tell you something. That's like my favorite. I love the Duran. I'm a big Alexander McCoras fan. In fact, when I first started, I talked to Alex because I met him in London. I was at a Julian Assange event in London. I love London. You know, used to like London. Wouldn't be afraid to go there now. But I met him and talked to him, met his wife. He is just the nicest, most wonderful. You know, I'll put it like this. If you watch the Duran, you'll see that Alex McCoras seems like a very intelligent and very kindly and very cultured gentleman. And if you meet him in public, that is what he is, a kind, a cultured, an intellectual man. Really like Alexander McCoras. And when I first started doing my video, I said, what do you think? You know, I don't know. And then, you know, maybe I'll start doing. And Alexander said, Garland, just start doing them. Be consistent, stay with it, and it'll grow. And I said, thanks. And he gave me the push that I needed, and I started doing my video. So yeah, I love Alex McCoras. And I mean, I love the guy. I love Alex McCoras. He's a wonderful human being. Him and his wife and his family are just the salt of the earth. Raphael says, so Russia and China cannot say stop this or else. Not really. But what's going on is, I think the Muslim world is, man, the heat is coming down on the Biden administration. And here's what I believe. The Muslim world also has connections, not just the Biden administration. And I think they're messaging to their other connections in the U.S. saying, let me tell you something, these guys got to go. You guys are getting ready. Well, we're going to have to cut your oil off. If we don't cut your oil off soon, our populations are going to cut our heads off. We will not be able to restrain our populations much longer. So either you better get rid of the wrinkled suit boy and his clown show, or else. Esoteric Teaching says DNC can run Biden or Newsom. Either will lose. I think you're right. I think that you can't say what he's done. Needed a good laugh today. Yeah, I think the bottom line is he has muffed it up so bad. There ain't nothing they can do. I don't think they can pull their way out of this one. Let's look at Rockfin. All right, and we go to Rockfin. K. Kareem says, "Go Garland, love it." Thank you. Bob Baker, thank you. Castella, why are you still banned on X? Keep up the great work. You're over the target. You hit it. I'm off of X because I was over the target. I'm probably off of X. Well, it's a long story, but I will get back to you. But yeah, I'm still working on writing up my lawsuit because I'm going to sue X and I'm going to enjoy that. All right, Camilla V, Chicken Patty, my main man Sparkster, and you know, everybody on here. I certainly thank you all, Raphael, and there's so many people that I really appreciate. Let's see. Wondering if you'll see Twitch. Finboy Slick says, I'm always the one viewer. Oh, that's hilarious. Let's see. Would love to see you, Scott Renner, and Colonel Douglas McGregor on together. I do have my disagreement with the Colonel, but agree. You know, I need to try to do that. I need to try to get Ritter and McGregor on. That would really be awesome. You know, I do get Ritter sometimes and Andre Martianov, and that is a true joy. That is a true joy to get those two. 40 babies. I don't know what that is. I'm just looking around. Duran sucks. They're in U.S. the politics. Well, first of all, they're in England. They're pretty damn good on British politics. I'll tell you that. And I ain't so good. I suck on British politics. Fascist weekend at Brandon's Island. Oh, yes. Evil, dark Brandon. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Now, let me end up by saying this real quick. Last but not least, if you can afford it. If you can afford it, patreon.com is an option. And follow me on rockfin.com/Garland Nix. And don't forget, the thing about Rockfin is no advertisements. It costs nothing to join. But Rockfin does allow you to be a subscriber. If you can afford it, it's $14.99 a month. I would love that. It helps the channel. But if you can't, just become a member. So if and when they throw me off of YouTube, you can find me on rockfin.com. Also, PayPal's an option. Buy Me a Coffee is great. That's my favorite. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/GarlandNH. You go there and it says, buy Garland a coffee, $5. How many coffees you want to buy? However many you want to buy. And then It's just like Patreon now. If you choose, you have an option of just doing a single time, or you can say, hey, I want to be a subscriber and monthly buy Garland a coffee for $5 or whatever the hell. So if you can, that would be highly appreciated. PayPal's an option, and of course I have my Cash App info there. So if you anybody that can afford it, I appreciate it. If you can't, take care of your family. And last but not least, please, everybody, stiff arm that like button. Kick the like button, stomp the like button. The elbows, I love a good elbow strike. Wham, right to the right to the like button. Everybody beat the hell out of that like button. So if the algorithm works for this channel, then the like button kind of helps those kind of things. And share it on all of your social media platforms. Peace. I'm out.